an average person has probably been ripped off by someone in some sort of trade at some point, or maybe they feel like they have, whether they
They've
have
definitely
or not.
heard horror stories, right? Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's our own insecurities as technicians that we throw out a bunch of technical jargon to maybe have customers trust us and believe that we know what we're doing.
The home services industry is changing, and the business owners who adapt will lead it. We bring contractors and industry leaders together to break down what's actually working: data, operations, and strategies that drive results. This is Beyond the Truck Roll.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Truck Roll. Today, I, myself, Wes, and Kyle are joined by Bill Brown, a former HVAC contractor who built and sold his business. Now he's working on a bunch of different things, running Service Titan hacks, potentially has some sort of SaaS software that he's testing. Really innovative guy. So excited to have you on, Bill. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So it's great to be on, Wes and Kyle, and thanks for having me. And yeah, I was an HVAC contractor from 2012 to 2024. Early on, man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've been in HVAC for 25 years. So it makes me feel really old.
Seasoned vet.
Got the gray hair, right?
Yeah.
So I started out working for a handyman, and we did all kinds of things. We did tile and did some roofing and did electrical, and he added HVAC, and I really, really loved it. And it was a little bit more technical than the other things. So I went to school and got a degree in HVAC. And after that, I was hired by Liebert, and Liebert makes AC systems for data centers. So it was really cool in my mid-20s. I was able to go to HP and Dell and Apple and go to these $1 million data centers that are even more prevalent today and work on this equipment. And I learned a lot when I was working there, but got married, had my first child, and kind of maxed out in the corporate life. And I'll never forget, one day I was driving home from work and I was about halfway home, and it just hit me that I should start my own residential heating and air conditioning company. It was what they call the entrepreneurial seizure, right? And so I went home and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to start a heating and air conditioning company. And she's like, shut up, right? And what's your plan? She said. So I'm like, all right, I'll put a plan together. So I spent 6 months. I mean, I remember doing it before work in the morning, doing it during lunch, putting together a business plan of what I was going to do to start this company. I read Ron Smith's HVAC Spells Wealth book, which was very helpful, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And those two books helped give me the confidence to end up going through with it. And about, a month before I was going to start, found out my wife and I were pregnant with twins. And everybody was like, so are you going to do it now? Or are you still going to do it? I said, well, yeah, but now I have to be successful in it. So started the company, was able to beat the 5-year plan that I had each year, which was nice, and grew it pretty strong and really loved it, really enjoyed it. And now I'm on to the next chapter.
And you sold it last year, right? Or how long ago?
It's been, almost a year and a half. So time flies. It feels like forever ago, to be honest. Feels like
Congrats.
Thanks.
Fun story. What did it look like at its peak?
So at its peak, we were in $4 million in revenue, and we had about 30 employees. We did residential HVAC only. So it was, your typical mix of service, maintenance, and system replacements. We had a real strong membership base and really focused hard on retention. And that was pretty much the mix of it.
I'm curious about the other side of the coin, Bill. Like you were saying, you're just getting started. What was maybe one of the biggest challenges of you getting off the ground? Was it like hiring techs, or was it getting a team and staff? Like, what was your kind of biggest pain point?
I'll tell you, I was always a process oriented guy. And the first process that I solved in the company was the installation process. Because when I first started, I was like at a lot of companies, the guy that I was the CSR, I was the service tech, I was the installer. And probably one of the more complicated processes was going from a service call to a sales call to an installation. And as I added people, I had to hand that off. So I was able to put that process together really well and refine it. But then I realized quickly I needed a process for everything else. And I was really, really bad at sales. I mean, terrible at it. Really got kind of too engineering with customers. I remember doing a sales presentation on a laptop, and I'm going through and I'm talking about heat exchangers and I'm talking about coils and fins per inch. And I look over to the husband and wife, and the wife's like, what should I buy? And I'm like, oh God, this is so bad. So having a bad sales process was really painful. And fortunately, this industry has great sales trainers. I was able to hire one of those, and they taught me how to sell. Marketing processes were very tough, right? There was a lot of different avenues you could go down. So I had to learn a lot about marketing, hiring, onboarding. So those were kind of some of the early things that I struggled with that I had to fix.
I'm curious when it came to like software or other vendors you use. Now today you're running a company called Service Titan Hacks. So how essential was something like Service Titan to your business?
Yeah, I mean, I have always been a big fan of software. Before I did the handyman work, I went to school for computer science, but found I didn't like sitting at a desk all day. I liked working with my hands more, even though here I am back at a desk, right? And so when I started the company in 2012, like iPads had kind of just came out at that time. And I decided I'm going to do everything paperless with this company. But it wasn't very easy to do. There were not a lot of solutions for contractors back then. Service Titan had just started, maybe around that time, maybe a few years later. But when I first reached out to them and said, hey, I want to try your product, they were like, you're too small, which I think, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, let's be honest, but it was the right move for them. And so I just painstakingly looked everywhere for different solutions that could solve the problems that I had in my company. So I always look to software first before I look to just throwing things on people or hiring people. How can I optimize this and make it as simple and as easy as possible, and then put a person in charge of it? So there were a bunch of different systems we went through. We used ServiceMate. We tried House Call Pro. We didn't use Field Edge. It wasn't out yet, but eventually we went to Service Titan in 2022. So pieces of software like that, and it's really not just Service Titan, it's a whole tech stack for everything. Having that on point is very, very imperative for growth of your company. If you look at all these big companies, they have many pieces of software that they know how to use that are all working together, not just Service Titan.
So then what is Service Titan Hacks and why did you start it?
So when I started with Service Titan in 2022, I was 100% remote, operating my company remotely. So I moved to Florida in 2020 and ran the company remotely for the last few years. And when I started with Service Titan, I realized it was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated, right? So I was 100% blind to what was going on in the company. So I felt that I knew that I had to learn Service Titan inside and out to get that visibility to what was going on in my company. All I could look at was a screen and look at numbers. And I found quickly that the numbers on the screen weren't right. So I had to figure out, where did all these numbers come from? How could we mess them up? And make sure that everything was accurate so I could make intelligent decisions. And then I thought, maybe after about a year of that, I started working with Zapier and doing some integrations with ServiceTitan and fixing some things like that, doing automations. And I put together a Facebook group because I'm like, if I'm experiencing this, then I bet other contractors are as well. So these are some things I've figured out. Let me just share this stuff with them. And it became pretty big. I mean, we have over 10,000 members now, and I really enjoy it. I like, it's become a little bit more than just ServiceTitan. We talk about kind of the challenges that every contractor is facing today.
Speaking of tech, I mean, obviously SmartAC is in that space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, kudos to all your success there. It's great. I think this is like my second time hearing your story, and every time I just enjoy it, especially as a entrepreneurial minded person like me. I was going to ask, what happened as you were going along? You talked about your sales efforts and onboarding. That was kind of troublesome, right? But when did the door open itself to SmartAC?
So what I found, I tried to be, or I was always really analytical, almost analysis paralysis level. And so I looked at the customer's purchase cycle in my business. So when they first became a customer, what did they buy? And then after they bought these certain products, what would they buy in the future? And I think a lot of HVAC contractors experience this. As we got really good at sales, the products, services, and add-ons that we sold to customers really went through the roof. And so we would sell them, they would buy the top end system with all the accessories, all the maintenance, everything. And what I found was that our shoulder season was now filled with all of these tune-ups for customers that had already heard and bought everything that we possibly had. And so we would go to these calls and we would just knock on the door. And it was nice to be able to, thank the customer for their generosity to our company. And it gave them a good peace of mind that we were able to check out the system. But these new system tune-ups were very expensive. And I felt that our quality was good enough in our install that they weren't needed. And so rolling the truck to this house, one after another, doing new system tune-ups was not a value add for customers, because a lot of times they just were like, yeah, it's down there, it's new, and we're not going to even be home, things like that. And so I'm like, I wonder if there's a way for me to monitor these installs after we've done them, just with some numbers, and then only go to customers' homes that have problems with their install, or there's an opportunity to replace their other piece of equipment, right? So if they have a couple of systems, I wanted to put my technicians into situations where there was an opportunity to sell. And I also didn't want to pressure them to have to sell when there wasn't an opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I use SmartAC as a way to reduce truck rolls that I saw were not going to be profitable.
Right.
Yeah, and you focus on the ones that are, right? Maybe
Yeah,
there's an older
just
system
filling up
that
the
you want to be
schedule
in the home.
To have it full doesn't really benefit you, I mean, it was nice because my guys got hours, but that wasn't nice for the business. So the customer, they didn't lose, but they didn't really win in that situation. They were kind of inconvenienced a little bit by having us come out. The employees, the coworkers, they got hours, so they won a little bit, but the business really took a beating with labor costs during that time.
I have a question on memberships. So I mean, you're obviously in front and you have a lot of different companies and contractors in your Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think people get most wrong about the concept of memberships? Or why don't more people do it at such a higher scale?
Ew, why don't they do it? I think because, this is just my feelings on it, right? When we go out to a customer's home and we can meet them for the first time that morning, and by the afternoon have a contract for $15,000, right? So by contrast, a membership seems like a little bit of that, right? And I think that we are very short-term thinking when it comes to our businesses and when it comes to like marketing. And I don't think we think about the customer's lifetime value. So it's like, let me get this money right now. And if I don't get it, there's not going to be an opportunity to get it in the future. And I think that the way that I looked at it was it was a matter of time before the customer purchased a new piece of equipment from me. It just depends on where they were at in their purchase cycle. So if they became a customer from a repair when their system was 10 years old, I knew that about 5 years from now, that was a $15,000 ticket waiting. So I saw that membership as a investment that was going to pay dividends in the future. And it did. And I'm not sure if other contractors see it that way. And then also I know it's old school, but in Ron Smith's book, he built his entire business and the foundation of this industry when it comes to residential replacement on memberships.
Do you think this is because a lot of the companies that will be in someone's home see that $15,000 number and they kind of chase it to the extent of potentially overdoing it on the day one visit and not focusing on the long-term relationship because that will probably happen in the next 3-4 years?
Yeah, we did that for a period of time. So when I first started, I always thought long-term. I built up memberships. I wasn't as worried about that first ticket value. I knew that it was going to bear fruit eventually. And I also wanted a steady pipeline of members that had systems that were in replacement age that I could move to the shoulder season, right? And then I left the company and operated remotely, and COVID happened, which I think was a blessing and a curse for everybody. And we started selling a lot more systems early on, and there was a lot of money floating around the market. There were great financing deals. There was an equipment shortage, and so we kind of moved towards that short-term thinking. But for every customer you sell a replacement system to, you have to have another one in the wings that's a replacement opportunity. So we sold a lot of our members' systems, and it gave us short-term gains, but long-term we had to find replacement customers. It was painful. So
I got a question about when you were actually using SmartAC and you were rolling out to these homes and trying to, sell the memberships and get them on the hardware plans. What was kind of if you can remember, what was kind of your sales pitch for them to let you install the sensors in their home?
We just included them with every install. That's just the way it was. Cause I just said, this is what it comes with. And I didn't separate SmartAC. I kind of when it came to selling it on the install, I almost made it as it was part of the package. That's the new future technology. We monitor this. Here's how the sensors work. And we didn't focus too much on the sensors. We just gave the customer the peace of mind that if anything went wrong with your system, we would know about it right away and be able to be as proactive as possible. So that's really the way that we did it. And most of our sales for that were on replacement systems. How we did it on service is we bundled that into higher ticket items. So the way we sold our service, we had bundles and we gave them 6 options, and our top 2 options just included the SmartAC.
I like that. I like how it's like, if you want to use us, it comes with these sensors.
Less decisions,
right,
for a customer.
Not giving them the choice of, do you want these sensors, right?
Yeah, right.
I think it also goes back to what you were saying earlier on that example you had of getting too technical with a homeowner, because I think at the end of the day, if you can just tell the homeowner, we're monitoring this, you have peace of mind that this is functioning correctly, and we will be ahead of any huge issues that happen. I think it helps you look better for the homeowner, right? And
Hmm.
they don't care about just like all of the little data points. They just want to know if it's working well.
They care about very little. Yeah. When this, if this has a problem, are you going to take care of it for me? And this enables us to take care of it faster. And when you have a heating or cooling problem, speed is one of the
Yeah.
most important things, right? So,
I
um,
think that is also the single, I think we see it too on the Smart AC side. I think that is the single most misunderstood aspect of the Smart AC business is we talk a lot, our sales team is talking a lot to contractors, HVAC guys who are like, I mean, they're super in the weeds on this stuff, which is good. Like they should be, right? Like they should know the equipment, they should know all the data points, they should know all this stuff. But really, I think the single most misunderstood point of why we exist isn't to tell this data point from this data point. It's to
mhm.
give the homeowner a peace of mind that you are facilitating a better relationship with them that will lead to that $15,000 replacement that you've been chasing and unable to get.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you'll get it eventually. They have to buy what it is that we're offering. It's
Yeah.
a need,
And you
right?
want them to be your customers, right? You don't
Yeah.
want them to be your
Once they
competitors.
once they come in the family, don't ever let them go, ever.
Mm.
Because the close rate on a replacement for a member, if you don't push the system, is is I mean, it's really high. If you the more you try to push somebody to buy, and I think that I mean we're all consumers on this call, right? Gosh, how long has it been since you've been pushed to buy something? And if you are, it's like the most uncomfortable feeling. And to go into somebody's home and do that, wow, that's just not great customer service there. So yeah, we always looked long term, and Smart AC helped us look long term, helped us stay that way. And you're right, I didn't talk about the sensors and how they worked to the customers. I did to the technicians because they love
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. Now, hey, if I would have sold Smart AC and offered it back in 2012, I would have just rambled all kinds of technical stuff. I might have even showed them the dashboard with the graphs
Yeah.
and not even noticed that they were like, "Shut up." So yeah, it's it's a really good product for retention. Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I wish I had it. I tell the team here all the time. Ironically, my AC went out. I live in Texas, right? So my AC went out in the summer, right before I joined Smart AC, unknowingly that I was going to join Smart AC. And the techs out there explain, like you were saying, explaining all this technical stuff, what was wrong with my system. I'm over here like, yeah, sounds good. Um, what do I need to do, right? Um, and I consider myself somewhat savvy, especially with technical things. But I mean, I was out of my depth too. I mean, I can only imagine homeowners who, like my wife, right, who doesn't even know. I don't even think she knows
Mhm.
what a filter is. God bless her, right? Love her to death, but I don't think she knows what it is or where it is. So,
Yeah.
it's a lot of education falling on the tech's shoulders while also trying to explain it, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's our own insecurities as technicians that we throw out a bunch of technical jargon to maybe have customers trust us and believe that we know what we're doing. But if you have a nice brand and you come out, they called you, the customer already trusts you. It says AC on your shirt, right? They don't want you coming out and thinking, gosh, I hope this guy doesn't know what he's doing, right? So maybe that's what leads to all the technical jargon. I'm not sure, but if you ever look at customers, if you look at in the eyes when you're saying that, they're just like, shut up. So
Well,
interesting.
I think it's like, I don't even think it's an HVAC specific thing. I think it's an issue generally with the trades because I think the bottom 10% of companies, like a lot of them are fairly new, they're first time operator. They're going to try to undercut all the pricing on everybody to try to grow. And I think I'm getting at a point that I think an average person has probably been ripped off by someone in some sort of trade at some point, or maybe
Yeah.
they feel like they have, whether they
They've
have or
definitely
not.
heard horror stories, right?
Yeah,
About it.
and I think like you can ask on a block of 20 houses, probably at least five of them have a horror story of some sort with whether it's a plumber, a junk removal company. Like it does not garage door. It doesn't matter what the trade is. So I think a lot of time they're bundled together on these issues. And maybe that's why there's over technical explaining. But I think one of the values here is that if you're monitoring definitely equipment that is older, you can actually point to data points that help make that argument on why something is at an elevated risk for a breakdown and it is time for a new system, rather than just saying, oh, well, the coil is looking bad to me or something.
Yeah. It's time for a new system because I need to meet my numbers for this month, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Very good. You want to give some good reasoning behind it. And yeah, some numbers like that are good as long as you convert them into customer friendly speak, which I think SmartAC does really well with their app. And they have the pro version of it, and then they have the customer facing one. So yeah, you just have to be very careful very mindful of how you present information to customers so they can easily digest it. Because you're right, just like you had, Kyle, what's going on with my system? What should I do?
Right.
Right.
And it's to y'all's point, like the peace of mind is what really sold me, is because this tech was able to say, like, look, these are what your numbers are right now. These are what they should be. And so it's like, your system is 20 years old almost. So if you don't do it now, you're going to be doing it eventually, and it's going to hit you when you may not be ready. Right. Like, so
makes sense.
I want to ask you a question and shift a bit back to like the big picture of the memberships. What are some other things you would put in your memberships for your members?
You mean like some benefits?
Some other benefits.
Yeah. So we gave them we had a twice a year tune-up package, and we do twice a year if they had older systems that gave us two opportunities, one for a furnace failure, one for an AC. We did once a year if there was only one specific opportunity, or if their system was new and that we had installed. And we also gave them at the time $250 off of a replacement single system, or $500 off of the full system, which people really like. And we did do a percentage discount off of repairs. And I think we did it ranged from 10% all the way to 20%. And those were very standard membership benefits that you'll see a lot of companies do. I don't think it was anything really revolutionary that we offered.
Who do you think in your company like primary sold the memberships? Was it CSR? Was it technician?
Technicians, I'd have to say. I could have done much better presenting memberships and talking about those through with CSRs. But admittedly, I was not great at training CSRs. I was really bad at it. So it's definitely one of my weakest points.
Well, now in 2026, you could just probably AI the whole thing if you wanted to.
I mean, to an extent, I think that the AI voice and the AI CSR and AI everything is a little bit overblown, a little bit more over promise, under deliver. It is amazing, and there is a place for it. But like everything with business, I think that as a business owner, you wish it was a silver bullet. You could just buy this AI, pay a subscription, and then now my whole CSR department, my whole call center and dispatching is done. It's taken care of. I don't even have to watch it. And that's the reality is that's just not how it is. But the AI, all these things, all these tools put together could help better training for the AI or the people that are answering the phone. But what I know is being able to communicate the benefits of a membership was not something that we did very well on the office side.
In terms of like compensating technicians, did you do anything for membership sales?
I ended up giving them a spiff for it. So like when I had technicians, I went through many different pay plans, and it was always some sort of a performance pay. But when we had memberships at times that were $99 on special, and we would have between a 5 and 10% commission that we would pay them. And it's like, all right, we're going to give you $5 to $10 for selling this membership. So I gave $25 for a membership because it was that much more important, right? So I kind of split that up. But there's all kinds of different things that companies do as far as rewarding their technicians for this. But I mean, if there isn't any incentive for them to do it, they're probably not going to do it or as effectively as you would want. So I think that, I mean, studies show that performance is people are motivated by incentives. So if you really want to grow your membership base or grow any part of your business, try to dig into what's in it for them. What's in it for the technician? What's in it for the homeowner? And if those two people win, then the company will win.
This is kind of a wild out the box question, but I know that some HVAC contractors have started offering this. If you were to start running your business today, would you implement something like tipping?
You mean like when they when they
the payment going and then there's like a tipping?
The thing that everybody's complaining about today?
Yes, but I've seen it from several. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of contractors and companies that are doing this now because it's not only an HVAC thing, but like I've seen it pop up a little bit here and there.
I would do it. I would do it, especially for installers. So a lot of times installers would be the ones taking the final payment. If it were, finance, they wouldn't do it. But if they're getting, if they're processing a check or they're swiping a credit card, I would think that a customer would easily throw $20 on there for the installer, which is, awesome because they never would have got that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do it. They
Just
do it at Starbucks, right?
Yeah, tipping is wild. Like I'll like drive to go pick up lunch, and then they're like, the person's just sitting there like, "Do you want to add a tip?" And I'm like, I drove here.
I always do. I always add the tip because I think to myself, I want this person to still have a job. You know what I mean? I want to be able to go to a place and pick up some food. So yeah, I'll give them $1 here or there, but you know what, Wes, that's a good question. I don't think
I would offer it on like a membership sale, right? Because you're trying to
you mean or them, like just a service call, like an 80.
Yeah, I think like there's some things I would offer it on to keep the technicians happier. I think that's a big driver of what they can see from an income standpoint if you're doing it a lot. And I think that I would probably personally not do it on something where you're trying to facilitate a really good relationship in the long run with the homeowner. But like, I think there are use cases for it. It's a balance, right? You don't want bad feedback on it, but like, it's an interesting tool. I don't know. I'm pretty mixed on it. Personally.
Probably depends on how it's presented, right? And then
yeah,
it'd be very difficult to acquire feedback on how happy a customer was with that. So a lot of people, just my opinion, would add a tip maybe begrudgingly, right? And that's not what you want. Especially if you're the technician, you're like, hey, can you tip me? Right? It's a weird, I don't
think I would do percentage though.
Yeah, you would just give, you would give like flat rate dollar.
Yeah, like 5, 10, 20, $30, something like that. What were you saying, Kyle?
I know that the technicians would like it. I know that.
I was just going to say, I'm just like Bill as a former waiter. Like I sucker into it and I end up tipping people. Even if like I do all the work, I'm like, here's $2 more. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's $6 coffee, I'll throw $1 on it.
Yeah.
As a tip. And, because if you can afford $6, you can afford $7, right?
Why'd you spend $11 at Starbucks? I had to tip him $5.
Yeah, right. So that's an interesting question. But
the question I have as someone who works in marketing for SmartAC, so we're talking about incentives, which kind of raised a question for me is when you were back in your business, you were using SmartAC, how did you promote like incentives to your homeowners? How'd you get in front of them? How'd you market yourself to them, right? Make them care, make them keep choosing you.
Oh man. So how do we retain customers?
Right.
Just We proactively reached out to them with email marketing campaigns and direct mail campaigns. I just wanted them to remember us. And this was customers who didn't even buy a membership because, you spend, and there's metrics on this. For me, it was $130 average customer acquisition cost. And if I went out and spent that 130, the more I could visit them, the bigger that ROI was. And I felt that eventually they were going to buy what it is that I sell, even if they weren't a member. I really wanted them to be a member because that means I could be in the home once or twice a year. But the way that we nurtured them from an existing client who may have only bought a service call for whatever reason, down the path to member, to higher level service, to system replacement, was really early on with email and direct mail. And it was cheap. It was so cheap to do the emails and direct mail, especially to existing customers. And we did it once a month or so. And then we would do tune-up campaigns in the shoulder season. We would do those. And after, technology got a lot easier to use, we would do drip campaigns, like where we'd send out a text message, an email, a voicemail drop. So I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but they're direct to voicemail, very, very successful, very effective, better than phone calls and less expensive to do. So we would reach out to them that way. And then obviously when they had the app, we could do push notifications too.
Yeah, it's a shame that you weren't able to use all of our new digital marketing features that we have in our platform now, which for anyone watching, if you're interested, check out our videos or get with your SmartAC rep. Sorry, shameless plug. But I wish we had those for you because it's all in the system now. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it would be another nice piece to keep in contact with the customer. And I think that just looking at email open rates weren't that great. They kind of declined over time. And sometimes people will give us their email that you could tell was the one they didn't use, right? Like the old Yahoo email they'd have. And so I think that the app would have been great because then I could send push notifications. And I don't think people really ever delete apps off their phone. So text and the app would be nice to have.
I'm curious for some advice you have for growing existing HVAC businesses today. So, number one, how do you think the future of the HVAC industry is going to look like, and what should the average HVAC company be on the lookout for and prepare for?
The future, to me, is a little muddier than it was before. It seems a little bit more complicated with all this technology and AI. Like, I would not want to be doing digital marketing for new customers today with AI. How many different ways it can go, right? So what would I want to do what would I do if I were trying to grow? I would not take these big private equity companies head on. I would personally not compete with them in pay-per-click. I would not do that. They can outspend you. I would be very, very surgical in my marketing and very targeted rather than very wide. So I would let's say there's a neighborhood that you work in that the majority of the homes are between 10 and 15 years old. You've sold a few replacements there. I would even be as guerrilla as driving around and seeing how many systems are new versus old. I would hammer that neighborhood. I would have a very narrow place that I targeted and get maximum repetition for each home. So I would hit them with a radius Facebook ad, like a branded one. Mm-hmm. I would do direct mail. My trucks are going to be in that neighborhood all the time. And I would dominate one neighborhood at a time. And another thing I would do that a lot of larger companies, I don't see them doing, is social media. If you're willing to pick up your iPhone and put it on yourself as an owner, or have your techs pick it up and do that, you're going to get a lot of attention really, really cheaply, right? Because most people aren't willing to do that. They're just not.
Do you guys think that there's a world where AC contractors, maybe not the techs, but like sales reps for the company, would go door to door? And I know that sounds crazy, but I used to work for a roofing company, and that's how they primarily sell, right? Is going door to
Yeah.
door. Hey, let me get on your roof and make sure there's no hail damage, right?
A lot of window
Um,
replacement companies
right.
Yeah.
do that too.
I'm
I
wondering if
mean,
there's ever
maybe
a world where like, hey, have you taken a look at your AC that we know you don't care about until it goes out? And it's like, no, it's working fine. Or actually I had issue. Like I wonder if that would lead to, because you were talking about targeting neighborhoods, right?
hmm
And that just brought up in my mind whenever that's what this roofing company I worked for used to do, was just literally boots on the ground, walk throughout the entire neighborhood, capturing leads.
Well, if you don't do it, I can guarantee you won't get any leads,
Yeah.
right?
Nailed it.
So it's interesting because gosh, anyone that lives in a neighborhood has the neighborhood Facebook group, and you'll
yeah.
have somebody that maybe they'll call them a Karen post on there. There's this guy going door to door soliciting. So it's almost like if you're doing that, you can, be mindful of the sign that they have on their door that says, I think that like
No soliciting
No
or
no
something.
soliciting.
soliciting, no, like I have my religion. I know who I'm voting for. Don't knock on
Yeah.
those people's doors. But I've had some people come around to my home selling pest control,
Yeah.
Every
and
day.
it wasn't a huge deal. Like I went out and talked to him and everything, and I didn't see anything in the neighborhood about people getting very upset with that. But I would probably try it. I would try it. I think you might have to have a permit to do it in some places, so I'd be careful doing it that way. But it could be some if it's the right neighborhood and you have the right person. Um,
You
you
could do like yard signs too, I would think.
Yeah, yard signs are
Or
pretty
like
good
door
if you can put
hangers.
them up. So we did that. Some neighborhoods like HOA wouldn't allow us to put them
Yeah.
up, but when we had nice branded trucks, and just going back to that, I didn't mention that the number one thing that you can do for anything when it comes to marketing is your brand. To have a strong, powerful brand that as an owner you believe in and you're proud of, and that your employees look at and say, wow, this is a real company, you're going to your cost per lead is going to go down. Your ability to close at a higher rate for higher sales is going to go up, and your reach and impact when you're driving those trucks around a neighborhood is going to be so much more. A well wrapped truck with a nice brand is the cheapest marketing if you think about it over the long term.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate to have a really, really nice brand. And I got it before I really knew how important branding was. I just I lucked into the color scheme of it, and the colors were really unique in the market, and the wrap looked great on my truck, and we were able to be real consistent with it. So we did have yard signs that we did during installs, and we had door hangers that guys would go around and put those up. Not all the time, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were going back to your question, Kyle. I would I'd do some door knocking and see how it goes.
I gotta know what the colors are. You can't leave me hanging like that when you say you got
Oh
great colors
yeah,
and
they
branding.
were purple, blue, red, and yellow.
Wow.
Mostly it was purple that was the focus of it. So we had purple polos, we had purple hats. Most of the truck was wrapped purple with a little bit of blue, and I had purple Nikes.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
We
so
have
I really
a
liked it.
we have a customer. I'm based in Denver. We have a customer on the SmartAC side called
Mhm.
AAA, and they're pink, and they have like the biggest billboard on Colorado Avenue, which is probably one of the most trafficked roads
Mhm.
in the city of Denver, and it's just like probably a very expensive billboard. But
Yeah,
I think back to your point, just very memorable brand is super important.
it's so important. It's tied into everything on your marketing,
Hmm.
everything,
Yep.
right? And there's a lot more well-branded home service companies today than there was before. When I started in 2012, there wasn't anything like Kick Charge, like Dan Antonelli did not have his brands all over the place. But if you drive down 75 here in Tampa, you will see some really nice, well-branded trucks.
I feel like if you don't work in HVAC, you don't ever really notice how many HVAC contractors there are. And then now that you work in HVAC, it's like, oh, Johnny's AC, Danny's AC, Bill's AC. You're like, geez Louise, there's so many trucks out here.
And every time I see like a really poorly branded one, I'm like, look at that guy just burning money. Burning money. And he got what is that script font that he got on Microsoft Clip Art and just threw it on the side of the truck, right?
Yeah.
So very important to have a good brand.
All right, I think we're kind of getting towards the end of our time we reserved for this. So I have like one more segment I like to do, which is like a lightning round where it's just quick questions, quick answers. So I have a few of them pulled up, ready to go. First lightning round question I have is, what is one metric every HVAC owner should watch weekly?
Labor costs.
Labor costs. Okay. Best investment you ever made in your business?
Brand.
All right. What is a tool besides Service Titan that you couldn't live without?
Field Piece JL3 kit.
What is that?
It's a digital manometer, psychrometer, and refrigerant gauge set.
Okay.
So physical tool, old school. It was awesome.
All right.
Or iPad too, right?
iPad's a good one. Yeah. You talked about the shift on iPads earlier.
Yeah.
And then what is one belief about HVAC growth you change your mind on?
It's not specific to HVAC, just it's more business. Be very mindful and realize how important professional relationships are. Who you pick for your accountant, for your distributor, for your attorney. Those are very, very important relationships in your business that you want to make sure you find a great fit. That'll hurt business growth if you don't get that right.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Which brand do you like better? Service Titan Hacks brand or your contracting brand that you had? The purple, yellow, and blue and stuff.
Contracting brand.
Okay.
But I do like that I could get a red band for my watch, which was
I was going to say, I love your Service Titan.
Red everything. I have some red Jordan 11s too, so maybe.
Oh, I remember that at the trade show.
Did you get your technicians purple shoes too?
They didn't. They had to have steel-toed boots, right? So I couldn't do that. But if there were purple boots, I would get them. I think the guys liked the purple. I think they did.
Yeah. Well, it's been great having you on today. I've really appreciated this discussion. It's been a great discussion. Where should people check out Service Titan Hacks, and how should they engage with you?
Yeah, just get on Facebook and search groups for Service Titan Hacks. Join the group, answer a couple questions, and just dive in. That's the best place.
Well, thanks for joining, Bill, and thanks for letting
Bill.
me crush the party, Wes. Appreciate it.